TGIF Warriors. Congratulations, Bran, on having a good week. Did the community help you? Team? Ryan?
Hey, mate.
Hey, good morning, Coach.
Hey, good morning. So first question is, what lit up the yen?
Sources. I cannot reveal them.
Okay.
I hate the sources.
I mean, what is this 4-hour candle? What happened?
Well, obviously we had the inflation data coming out first, and that showed inflation going up, although a couple of the measures weren't up as high as expected. And then this morning, bright and breezy, when my computer was down and I was fixing it, Reuters decided to drop a sources piece saying that the BOJ are likely to ignore any tweaks next week. They still don't think inflation is sustainable, so on and so forth. And off we went, a nice 160, 170 pips.
Yeah, probably happened in a heartbeat on that, huh?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even get a chance to get my phone open. It was gone.
Yeah,
and I have to say, Ryan's done a great write-up too on, some of the reasons why, and I do have a lot of comments to say about that just in general, and I think it's a big topic of conversation because it actually ended up stopping me out of my dollar yen short. So
yeah,
irritating. It's worst thing when you get up. Yeah,
right away. Yeah.
Oh, I get up and I'm like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
so
Ryan
Blake got stopped on his shorts. I got stopped on my 140 longs last night, so I missed that. I missed that move this morning. But fortunately, I've still got my 138 long, so I'm not going to complain too much.
Yeah.
Okay. Did the Nikkei rally with it?
You know what? I didn't even look at the Nikkei.
It did. It did.
Let me know.
It did, Dale. It popped.
All right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like new highs. I'm just searching for it right now. It's by the DAX.
It was obviously closed when that story hit.
Okay.
One of the things I was actually having a conversation with somebody yesterday regarding the yen, and this is such a historic move on it. Okay, let's just talk about monetary policy with Japan in general. This is such a historic move for them to make a shift in the other direction on monetary policy. They're not even talking about raising rates yet. They're talking about adjusting their yield curve control, which is a precursor to raising rates. Right. And this is the first inflation they've seen in 20 some odd years. So when you talk to, it was funny because Ryan did a write-up, and Ryan, I'm not going to steal your thunder here because I want you to talk about it as well. Ryan did a write-up in the chat room on his thoughts on, what could happen following the BOJ. Look, if you're the BOJ and you're going to be making an adjustment on monetary policy, and you haven't made an adjustment in this direction for, how many years has it been? Dale, you probably know better. You're more of a sponge brain than me.
I have no idea, Blake, actually.
Okay, I can pull it up. I'll actually pull it up rather than just talking about it and just, averages. I'll have to pull it up I'm going to pull it up on a chart while Ryan's speaking. But let me just say this, you've got people and analysts talking about, the fact of the matter is that if the BOJ does move on interest rates, when they do historically, and they adjust their policy, it could really move the yen, from where we trade at 140, now it's 142 to 130, 120, 110, back into the 100. You're talking about multiple big figures lower, right? Okay. So and think about how disruptive that's going to be. And if you're the BOJ and you're like, okay, I know this is coming, we have to do this, but we can't let the market front run what we're going to do, because if they did, and you have people like me and everybody else, and you and everybody else saying, I'm buying yen ahead of this big event.
Yeah.
The dollar yen's trading from 140 to 135. Then the news comes out. Then we're trading at 125 over the course of the next 3 months. they're trying to mitigate that as much as possible, and they have to surprise the market or try to surprise the market and keep people not positioned long yen into a historic moving event, historic event. That's would be my view. So, and it sucks because, of course, I want to get pre-positioned ahead of the BOJ. You know, fortunately, my yen trades aren't very big right now because next week's such a big week. But anyway, that's just my opinion there. And Ryan, I'm sure you've got a lot to say about that too.
So we're at the 60, close to 61.8 back here.
We are at the 618. We were
Yeah.
within 10, 30 pips away from it. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
close.
Which is a level on its own, as you can see there.
Yeah.
And I would say that, this is, I think, part of the rebound in the S&Ps and NASDAQ, because the other problem for, the scenario we were looking for, I still think could happen, is the unwind of the carry trade, right, Blake? So, I think that this is what's creating the rebound that we're getting in S&Ps and NASDAQ.
Yeah.
Although after yesterday, I'm not that impressed with it being up 10, but yeah, maybe it's going to make another run at a new high without NASDAQ. Maybe that would be a pretty interesting thing to see if it does happen. Say we go to 4,600, that some people have been calling for, and NASDAQ cannot make a new high, because there was a lot of damage and stuff like NVIDIA and Microsoft. I'd see you're tweeting about this yesterday, Blake.
Yeah, false breakout. Yeah.
So there was a lot of damage,
Right.
and this is when I was on Real Vision, this was the ugly. It was NVIDIA, and NVIDIA, still it looks pretty heavy if we get through 350, but the real ugly one was AMD. So AMD hasn't made a new high. It's a failing rally. So this is part of the negative part of the semiconductor, that and Intel. So we'll see. I think it's a key to almost everything, what happens with the yen here. And I think
and I was just I was actually a little mistaken here. I was looking at the chart. Really, the BOJ has been at the zero bound for, I mean, you can say really approximately in the 90s, like late 90s. Yeah, around the .com bubble, because they come off of bringing rates down. Now, they did try to raise rates pre GFC, and obviously the financial crisis put us in a global financial crisis, and so the BOJ had to go back to zero. They did the old ECB, what they did pre European debt crisis. So same type of thing when Trichet, was it Trichet? Was that Trichet, Ryan, when Trichet raised rates a little bit?
What are we talking about?
I think it was Trichet. It wasn't Draghi.
Likely. Yeah, I think so.
Draghi came in to save the day, but I think it was Trichet that did it. Anyway, I stand corrected. The BOJ did try to raise rates a couple of times in like 2000. I think they went from zero to a quarter to maybe a half, and then they had to go back to zero. Anyway, okay.
Arnis is asking about CAD. It held, put in a higher low.
I'm sure. I've got a lot to show about the CAD and to talk about the CAD. So we'll get to that. Well, we can talk about it definitely in depth.
Gold reverse pretty good yesterday.
What's that?
Gold reverse pretty good yesterday. Put in an ugly day. That might have been, the end of the correction. Could it go 2000? Maybe, but I mean, that's a pretty weak chart compared to
holding
silver.
that 60 is important there.
This 1960
gold. Yeah.
You
can see that was a struggle point when we came through the 30s. So if it holds there, it keeps the rally in play.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be able to buy it under 1800 by September. So that's my plan.
I'm with you, Dale. I don't disagree with you on that.
Would you sell it here? Would you sell it here to then buy it back in 1800?
Yeah, I think I sold silver, but I scalped it. I thought that silver would have trouble at this 25-20 level, So I
Yeah.
sold it there. I covered yesterday. I'm not going
Nice.
to do anything new today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a nice day trade, but the gold silver ratio is still favoring silver. So, I mean, it had a little bounce yesterday, but I mean, this is right on the precipice too at 78. We break down, that's going to be pretty bullish silver. Although compared to the dollar, it held this low when the dollar didn't. So, I mean, why don't we talk about the dollar? It's above the breakdown, right?
Yeah.
You know, the big breakdown. So, and you know, and there was no divergence down here. So I thought we'd go up here and then get one more low, and then at least have a non-confirmation. I don't know.
Can I just say something that
Yeah.
I had you know, if you look at my euro dollar chart, it's so stupid that I didn't pick up on this, and I cannot believe I missed this. Like it's so, and I have to I'll show you when
Go
in a
ahead.
second.
You could take the charts. You have a lot to show. I'm, you know, I'm an old guy on Friday.
Well, here. Okay, so let me just show you this, and then we'll talk about the dollar, right? Okay.
All right.
So this is the euro, and you can see this chart clearly. A, B, C, D. I tweeted about it. I just closed out my euro dollar shorts yesterday because I was short up here. I got out. I was short. You know, going into this 618. I have you clearly the A, B, C, D. I tweeted about it like last week or whatever, and you know. And he may be listening in. Ben Maldonado, your buddy Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, he tweets back at me yesterday. And he goes, Blake, there's an AB complete, you know, ABCD equal leg move in the dollar that completed. I'm like, I was just looking at the 127% extension saying it was really oversold. And I'm like, duh. I'm glad he brought it to my attention, but I didn't. Of course, I have it here. On the euro, but on the dollar index, it's the same, and it is a B C D complete.
So how much DXY is euro dollar?
Yeah, that's true, and that's why I didn't. That's why I'm like, what am like? I was asleep at the wheel or something because I wasn't paying attention to that. But then again, you look at this. This is the the move that started in March,
right?
Yeah, this is the move that started in May. So you could also do there's I bet you this is an equal leg as well. But you're right, Ryan. But why didn't put 2 and 2 together initially? It's like
then the top is in, and to expect another new high. See how the RSI confirmed up there?
Oh, here.
I did sell it, but you know, I got out like you, thinking it was just going to, and we talked about it here in F.A.C.E that we could pull back to 11 before we made another run. So yeah. Do you think the scenario narrative of another run for one more high in euros off the table now?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to be, well, let's put it this way. I wouldn't want to be short down here, not ahead of next week, but that doesn't mean that it can't go down, because look at the dollar index. I mean, the dollar index is clearly, trying to break higher. It's false, a hard trade ahead of next week's news.
Yeah, you mean the Fed?
The Fed, yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's the news.
Yeah, okay. Of the event. Yeah, it's really tough to do. But Ryan, let me go back, because I'm so irritated at the yen overnight. I'm so irritated. This is the BOJ the interest rate chart. You can see where the BOJ tried to come off zero back in, this is 01, right ahead of I think September 11th. Unfortunately, just like everybody was trying to do some things right around the dot-com bubble, and this is pre GFC. You can see how they tried to move rates up and got slapped back down. But how do you feel about the yen and what the BOJ did with their sources? By the way, here's the sources if you want to know what those sources are saying. What do you think about the yen here? Because obviously, because I'm very irritated, I've already spoken my piece about how I feel about what the yen could do, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, sources stories you've always got to take with a pinch of salt. We could get a headline in the next 30 seconds. You're either dismissing the sources pieces and whatever. So, You know,
Yeah.
you have to take them for what they are.
Mhm.
Usually, if you were long dollar yen and you saw that move, you take some money off the table because you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. But looking at it from a wider perspective, you know, we had obviously that rally up to 145, very strong. We had all the squawkers coming out, jaw boning about what was happening there, Ministry of Finance keeping watch and so on and so forth. Then we had the blow off of 145. That was a bit in part on peak Fed rates, but also the market getting expectant for a tweak this month. And as I was mentioning, we didn't hear a word out of a BOJ member for nearly 2 weeks, and that was getting suspicious. Then we had UEDA coming out on Tuesday, and that pretty much sealed the bottom, down at that 138 level, and It's been uphill ever since. So now the market is undoing those expectations they were putting on the last 2 weeks. So where we are now, give or take, we're pretty much in the middle of that 145, 137 range. So I think the market is going to sit here now because everyone's had to go on one side, everyone's had to get kicked out of that, and now everyone's having to go on the other side. So we're probably in balance. We've also got the Fed. You know, we can't ignore that we've still got the Fed to get over before we even get
the day before, right?
So, you know, I put some thoughts together for possible scenarios for the BOJ. The first one being there's no action, nothing, no tweaks, no forecast changes, no language changes, no hints, nothing. I think it's a low probability now because there's been enough hints that they might be changing their inflation forecasts. So if there's no hints of anything, then I think we're through 145 and probably on the way back to 150 pretty quickly. My base case is the second scenario, which is no actual actions and no tweaks or anything, but they confirm the higher forecasts, at least for this fiscal year. Small chance they go above target for 2024 fiscal year. They'll change their language perhaps to recognize the change in inflation and their assumption, which is what you either mentioned on Tuesday. They would have to change their assumptions for inflation. Well, moving forecasts above target is making an assumption. And they'll probably hint towards tweaks down the line in monetary policy. If that's the case, we're going to see yen strength, obviously, depending on where we are, probably down to that 138 in the first instance, depending on how hawkish the market takes it. The third scenario is that it's full on hawkish. You know, forecasts go up, they tweak YCC, the language is hawkish, although it will remain cautious, and then you're going to see some big strength for the yen. But that would also give them some breathing space through the summer because yield curve control isn't interest rates. So it's like small steps.
Like the first step.
Big steps. Yeah. So it's, they could say we're going to cancel yield curve control altogether, but we're not going to hike rates for 3 years. You know, there's different contexts you need to be able to read into it. But it will be taken as hawkish. It's again, the BOJ moving away from easing, and that's will drive the market sentiment, and that will give them the summer for the market to price it up however it wants to do. They'll keep an eye on it, make sure it's not too volatile, and then the market will settle down but we'll be in a period now where the market is expecting the BOJ to get more hawkish, a bit like when we were expecting the Fed to get more hawkish. So you've always got to remember with expectations always drive the big moves before the actual policy moves. That's why dollar yen got all the way up to the 150s, pretty much before we hit the peak in rates, and the Fed still being more hawkish. You trade the expectations, not what happens when they actually change policy. So that's my thoughts. I don't see how they can come out their meeting next week without it having a hawkish slant. Inflation, the data says they need to change soon. We've been banging on about it long enough that they've got a window of opportunity. So yeah, if it would be a complete shock if they do absolutely nothing next week.
Yeah, that would be my thoughts as well. And I friggin' hate sources. Sources suck. Anyway, I'm a bit soured on a Friday. That really pisses me off. But anyway,
I could have kicked next door's cat this morning when that happened. Don't worry about that.
yeah, I mean that sucks when your computer goes down too. Okay, so real quick, you know, and I don't know if Dale's still here, we can talk a little bit more.
I'm here.
Okay, you are here. You know, let's talk a little bit about the S&P. You know, I know we were discussing what was happening in equities. I do think that the S&P is really near some pretty key resistance. I want to show you, and remember this is early in the day, obviously early in the day. You know, you got the markets there, you know, kind of bid up this morning, and you can see this is a daily chart, so you can see the candle on the S&P is looking a little bit better after yesterday's reversal. And that right there is an evening star, you know, that's you know, big bullish candle, pin bar, you know, a Maribuzo candle lower. That's actually a bearish candle. So I would think without data today, there's going to be some selling that comes in the market after the open. That would just be my initial thoughts. So just let them try to move up the markets at the open. Same thing here. Evening star formation on the NASDAQ 100. You look at the Dow. The Dow has been the stronger of the markets, but you can see, you know, it's got a pin bar at the top there. See how that market opens today. You look at the Russell. The Russell has also an evening star formed. So it's going to be really interesting to see how markets react today. Right. I'm, you know, I still look at volatility. It's still low. You know, the VIX is still trading, you know, sub 15. I mean, you know, we can't even, you know, get off the mat there. You look at, you know, obviously because of what happened with the BOJ, the Nikkei is up a little bit, you know, this morning, but, you know, the DAX is responding to yesterday's move. So you can see the DAX is down 0.5%. It's responding to yesterday's North American move. You know, and so the markets do look a little vulnerable as we go into the end of the week. I know they're bid up a little bit right now, but we had American Express just came out. You know, got to listen to the you know, the earnings call there, and about some of the warnings that are coming out. Gold slip pass through support. You know, the silver market completed its triangle pattern, and now we're rejecting 25. I think if we get below 2460, it's going to open up some downside. And if you look at yields, yields continue to well, they're just kind of slipping a little bit, but I can't get bullish the bond market until we get above the 618 retracement right here, and which is also, if you notice, it's the 200-day moving average and the 50 DMA. We have to scale that before we can start looking at yields and saying, you know, now it's going to get ugly. So we just got to get up there. Thanks, Dale.
You're good.
Real quick, and then I want to.
You're like a young Dale Pinkert.
A what?
Young Dale Pinkert.
Oh, the energy.
Yeah, when I used to, you know, you're like, you know, how I used to be.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to take that as a compliment. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's funny. I actually I went to an event last night, and I had a guy that he's from Los Angeles, and you know, he's like, wait a second, you're 50? Yeah. and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, dude, I'm not even 30 yet. He's like, man, I thought you were my age. And I'm like, oh, you know, I'll take those compliments while I can get them.
Yeah, good genes, man.
Hey, let's take a look at the dollar CAD, and I want to say here is the you know, channel support. It's been holding. One of the things about the CAD, and remember, we got retail sales, so we're gonna feel the consumer, how the consumer is faring in Canada. You know, going into this, you know, second half of the year, and it's going to be interesting, to say the least. We got the dollar CAD that's up against a bit of a trend line here. We're holding channel support. I think we have to get above 132 and then 132.50, which would be the 50% retracement. This is 132.40, but I know I still want to see it completely clear it. We get above those levels. Next thing you know, we're going to be trading back at the 50 DMA and then the 200 DMA. So we have but the dollar CAD's kind of held up well, even with crude oil in, quote unquote breakout territory above $75. So
Yeah.
and that's impressive to me. And
Yeah.
that speaks to the weakness of the
We're-
Canadian.
I
So
think we're going to break out of that this channel to the upside.
I'm personally, I hope so. I
Yeah.
hope that the dollar plays out this direction, but you can't
Yeah.
ignore the fact that if we break below 131, there's a lot of
Well,
there's a
yeah.
lot of downside. I mean, we're
So
we're
you know where
below.
you're wrong
Yeah,
on a trade
exactly.
like this.
You
And it's pretty
do.
close to it. You risk 100 pips
Yeah,
to
it's
make 8,
that's
900.
yeah, correct. And that's the play that I've been I've taken already, and I am playing the dollar Canadian to the long side as a
I
result.
think you got a campaign trade there.
Yeah, I mean, because you know where you're wrong, and that's as a trader. That's it obviously happens. I mean, I got wrong sided in the dollar yen, but when you know where you're wrong and you can get out there and sever that loss, that's the most important thing, because it's all about protecting your account. At the end of the day, making sure that you can continue to trade. But anyway, those are just some initial thoughts on the dollar CAD. Ryan, do you have any thoughts on Canadian retail sales as we go into this data today?
Yeah, it's not exactly high tier data, but the market's a bit on the fence regarding what the Bank of Canada is going to do next, whether they pause or hike. So look for a big variation.
It is data dependent, right? They are very data dependent.
So look for an outsized move. We're expecting 0.5% headline, 0.3% ex autos. So if it comes in a percent either way of that, you're probably going to get a move in the loonie one way or another. But that 131's proving to be a bit of a tough nut at the moment. But while we're below 132 in the short term, you can see you got a bit of a double. Well, you can't call it a double bottom, but we had the first test down there, then we had the little break, and then it's held straight after. So it's signs, small signals of bottoming. But unless we get above 132, we're probably heading maybe a bit lower. But see what the data does. If the data is good and we get down to that 131.20, 131, and we can't break, gives something for longs to maybe have a go at.
Something that looks like that. And and if the data is weak, we could see some squeezing above 132. I also wanted to point out the Canadian yen, because I am trading the Canadian yen right now. We're at the underside of a broken trend line, also maybe a pennant developing. We're just around the 618, but you can see this channel has been following ever since Ueda said I'm not going to adjust rates. What is it, 3-4 months ago, however many months ago it was, where we all thought he was going to potentially make a move, being the new guy in town, and he didn't. The Canadian yen's been in this ascending channel. We broke it a couple of weeks ago. We're back testing that channel resistance right now. So on a weak Canadian number today, a lot of you might be looking at the dollar CAD to the long side, but the Canadian yen, if you want to play into, counter what the quote unquote sources said, this might not be a bad play up here, especially near the 618. So just a little bit of some thoughts there as
nice
we
look.
are. Yeah, thanks, man. We're just 2 minutes out. I should actually look at the EURCAD too. The EURCAD's had a decent pullback. Matter of fact, let's do this really quick. Let me remove that. And we're right back into the support zone as far as I'm concerned. You can see it right here. There's a bit high traffic area in the EURCAD. If you go from the lows to highs, you can see we're at the 38% retracement and holding. Little false breakdown overnight. So again, weak Canadian data. If you want to just get rid of the yen and get rid of the dollar altogether and say, I don't even want to deal with any of that crap. I don't want any dollars. I don't want any yen. EURCAD might be a good long on strong or on weak data. On strong data, you can say, hey, well, we'll break through the support zone, and you can look at the other direction. So anyway, just a few setups there for you all. I'm going to pull up the dollar CAD right now, and let's get over to a 15-minute chart ahead of the data. I haven't even had a chance to get over here on ForexAnalytix, and here's the live squawk feed. Go over to calendar, pull up the data flash so we can get that instant read of the Canadian data when it's released. You see, they have some housing data coming out too. So let me move that over. Here is the dollar CAD. It's a 15-minute chart. Dale, Ryan, any last minute thoughts here?
Zero.
And it's Friday.
Yeah.
TGIF. All right. And I don't even know if
I thought
Steve's here.
yesterday
Yeah,
felt like Friday.
it did.
Today
No.
feels like.
Steve is here,
Yeah.
by the way.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, mate.
Hey, bro.
I don't know if you saw my text this morning. So
I not only saw it, I answered back to it.
you did. You did. Okay. I didn't see that. I must have already started on the show. All right. So dollar CAD the data should be out. It's a weaker retail sales number. Go ahead, Ryan.
Soft 0.2, 0.0. So you should see a bit of upside here.
Let's see if we can get I didn't see the housing index come in, but yeah, we're not getting much of a move. I think people are not super wanting to do anything. Maybe everybody's stunned by the BOJ move overnight.
Yeah, a 0.3 miss isn't exactly pushing the boat out. So no, I'm going back to the cricket.
You're going back. So real quick, I'm going to say this. I went to the only time I visited Australia, I was there for 2 weeks in Melbourne. And this is years ago. This is like 13, 14 years ago. And the only thing was cricket. I sat there for 2 weeks and tried to understand the damn game. And I'm like, this is kind of like baseball, I guess, a little bit. But, you know, I couldn't get it. I tried super hard. But hopefully you guys are having a great time. You know, what's the story in cricket, by the way, the dollar CAD's trying to move here?
Well, we're managing to smash the Aussies in this one, but as usual for the UK, rain is forecast. So that'll probably stop us winning the match. We're 2-1 down in the series. It's a 5-game series. We're 2-1 down. So we need this one to draw level.
Well, I'm all about the women's football, you know, World Cup and
Oh yeah.
and the I like to call it the British Open, but the Open Championships this weekend too. And so
yeah.
all about that this weekend. And by the way, the dollar CAD is testing 132. Dale, you do not have a guest today, do you?
No.
All right. Well,
Summer.
then I'm going to say I look forward to seeing the ForexAnalytix you know, people here in about 45 minutes. And Dale, you know, and Ryan, any last minute ideas?
Well, yeah, just be careful with this dollar yen. Might see a bit of profit taking into the weekend. You know, big move this morning. So, you know, wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a pullback later. But yeah, other than that, trade safe. Friday's pips is beer pips. And have a great weekend, everyone.
All right.
Yeah,
Dale?
okay. My last thought is if you haven't yet, join the community.
Thanks, bro.
Because I know that's why Brand is doing better, is because of the community.
Yeah,
So,
he's positive for the week, and we're excited.
Yeah.
We're excited for Dan.
he
Or,
works
Brand,
hard too.
sorry.
He works hard.
does.
He puts in a lot of time. He gets up early every day. He's disciplined and he's hungry. And hungry dogs run the fastest. So just remember that and stay away from hungry dogs.
There's not a lot of substitute for screen time.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, you know, when you're teaching your kids to play sports, right? It's like, you know, you want them touching the ball, handling the ball all the time. And the more touches you get, the better you're going to be. Same thing with trading. The more screen time you get, the better you're going to be. Then you compound that with a community where you can talk to other traders and say, what the hell am I doing wrong? I have Mike, by the way, Mike, I know he's listening in right now. He's like, hey, you know, I didn't add to my dollar max yesterday. And this is him in the chat room talking to me. He's like, I didn't add to my dollar max yesterday like you did, you know, back in the 70s or 80s when it was down there. What am I doing wrong? I'm like, you know, let's talk about it during our morning edge. So on the morning edge, we're gonna have this open discussion where everybody can listen in. And that's the thing about having a community, is being able to talk to other people about things, not I want to trade exactly how Ryan trades, and I'm gonna do exactly what Blake does. Screw that. You don't need that. You can do it on your own. But having
You want to do it on your own.
you want to do it on your own. Yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely do. But why not have other people to talk to about it? And
Yeah.
like, you know, because we all go
That's how
through
you
the
learn.
same issues. Anyway,
Yeah.
I can go
Anyway,
on and on about
That's
that.
our
so.
pitch. You know, look,
Yeah.
you know, it's really not a pitch. It's real. I can say this. I am a much better trader than I was 6.5 years ago. And do you guys know why? Because I do F.A.C.E every day with these guys, and I'm in touch with these guys, and I get the research from these guys, and I've gotten better. So if you looked at my videos from 6 years ago, you would see the difference. So anyway, and it took time, you know, it didn't happen right away, but it happened. So that's the bottom line. It happened. So everyone have a great weekend. You know, Blake and I will be hiding out. Do you go out? Do you go out much in this weather? Only when
Yeah, I
you
went
have
out
to?
last night and I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
I mean, thank
Yeah.
God for air conditioning, but
Yeah.
I went across town last night
Yeah.
and my car registered at 119 degrees.
At night.
This was at 6:30 in the evening.
Okay, the
Yes.
sun's still up. Anyway,
Barely.
yeah. Okay, I know. So guys, spend the weekend, get your plan together for next week. It's going to be a big one with the BOJ, and have people that are there to edify and build you up with you next week when you're trading. That's my advice. And don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Everyone's blessed in some way, and focus on that, and you won't be in a bad mood. So that's it. Great job again, Blake, Steve, Ryan. Look forward to collaborating again next week, doing it all over again.
Cheers, Dale, and thanks to you for leading the show.
Okay.
Leading the way.
Yeah,
Great,
thank you, Dale. And by the way, I have to again tip my hat to Ryan because, dude, you've been doing this like single-handedly without Stelios and without K-Man on the Flow Show, and you've been rocking it, man. So
and it hasn't
great job.
affected his trading. I mean, euro pound and the yen long from early in the week.
No, if his
So,
computer
yeah.
didn't crap the bed, he'd have been killing it.
Yeah, thanks,
well,
mate.
I think
by the way, I'm taking
Sorry.
By the way, I'm taking the next 6 weeks off.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well,
all right, everyone.
Ryan, Dale, you guys are awesome superstars. Thank you, guys.
You too.
All right,
Cheers, guys.
that's a wrap, everyone. Good luck today.